When handling pigs, there are a number of techniques, procedures, and best practices you can follow to ensure safety, efficiency, and animal well-being. These guidelines are designed to not only keep you and your animals safe, but also to minimize stress and produce a high-quality product. Principles of pig handling. Smart handlers do not focus on simply moving pigs as quickly as possible from point A to point B. They focus on minimizing the amount of stress while moving them. Most often, this will result in the task getting done the most efficiently. Calm pigs are easier to move. Minimizing stress starts with the handler's attitude. Approaching the task with a calm and patient attitude will make moving pigs run more smoothly and will minimize stress on the pigs and handlers. A positive, relaxed attitude will usually translate into calmer, more methodical movements. A tense, rushed, or aggressive attitude will usually cause a handler to overpressure the pigs by consistently moving too deep into their flight zone, yelling, pushing pigs, and/or making other contact with the pigs. This is exactly the opposite of what pigs need to feel safe moving in the intended direction, and often results in slowed or stopped movement and other undesirable behaviors. It is unproductive and completely unacceptable to abuse an animal at any time. If you find yourself becoming frustrated during a handling task, take a break to let yourself calm down before restarting the task. If you see coworkers becoming frustrated, encourage them to do the same. Pigs do not move very well when they're stressed. Giving them the chance to calm down as well will make the task easier when you restart. You can also take this time to reevaluate what you are doing, what the pigs are doing in response, and what you have to do differently to get the pigs to respond the way you want them to. There are many benefits to keeping pigs calm when you are moving them. Calm pigs have smaller flight zones and move in a more controlled fashion. This gives you more time to read the pig's behavior and respond appropriately to keep the flow going. It also lowers the chance of a pig panicking and injuring you by trying to get away. It makes future handling tasks easier. Every positive experience pigs have with a handler reduces their fear of people and makes them less excitable for future interactions. Negative experiences make pigs more fearful, making them increasingly difficult to handle. Stressful experiences can weaken a pig's immune system, making them more susceptible to disease. It can also affect reproductive performance and growth performance. Lastly, by reducing stress prior to transporting animals, you will have fewer losses during transport and at the plant or assembly yard. Pigs that are aggressively handled on farm are more likely to have poorer meat quality and more carcass losses due to bruising and scratches. They are also more likely to be condemned at the plant due to lameness and stressed hog syndrome. In effect, it pays to keep pigs calm. Handlers should not rely on the use of fear as a motivator. While handling pigs, it is important to remember that you can direct most of the movements through your positioning alone. However, there are a variety of handling tools to help you move pigs. These are meant to complement your positioning and to protect you from injuries. One of the most useful tools is a sorting board. It can be used to block pigs if they try to back up, but it must never be used to hit a pig. This handler notices that the sow is moving very cautiously. Notice her head is up. Her ears are pointed back toward the handler, and she keeps checking to see his position. When she stops, the handler recognizes that she is likely to back up, and he steps behind her and blocks her with the sorting board, also creating a visual barrier as she glances around. However, he does not continuously push her with the board. Notice here that this sow shows similar signs of caution. This is often brought about by overpressuring pigs by continuously getting too close or pushing them. When the handler pushes her with the board, she makes an attempt to turn back past him to escape his pressure and avoid the perceived threat ahead of her. Pushing and crowding pigs with boards should be avoided. Be patient and aware of the pig's need to feel safe in order to move easily in the direction you want. As well as a physical barrier, the board can also act as a visual barrier, blocking a pig's view of other pigs or gaps in a handler's stance. Boards also allow a handler to direct the pig in the intended direction. However, moving it right along with the pig's movement can draw unnecessary attention to the handler as well as create pressure in front of the pig. With no effective release, pigs will often try to circle past the handler. Waving a board also draws the pig's attention unnecessarily and should be avoided. For worker safety, it is recommended to make it a standard operating procedure to carry a sorting board whenever working with pigs, especially those heavier than nursery pigs. Handlers should always wear steel-toed boots when moving these heavier pigs. It is also highly recommended for workers to wear dust masks, especially when moving pigs, and wear ear protection, especially when loading market hogs or when feeding sows. Another handling tool that is quite useful is a sorting paddle. When used correctly, it can help handlers to initiate and direct movement without entering too deeply into a pig's flight zone. It must not be used with any force, and you should never use anything but the flat side of the paddle end to touch or tap the pigs. Here, the handler gets the group of pigs moving by tapping the next to lead pig. When flow is stopped, you can encourage movement by tapping the next to lead pigs. This will encourage them to move forward towards the lead pig. By tapping the lead pig, you draw its attention backwards, which might result in it turning back to find safety in the group. Tapping the rearmost pigs often has little effect on the flow at the front, but tapping the next to lead pigs will often restart movement. In this example, the handler encourages the sow to turn by directing the paddle towards her shoulder. Both handlers then encourage the other sows to back up or turn around by positioning the paddles in front of their faces, which allows the targeted sow to pass by. Sorting paddles can also be used as shakers or noisemakers. Pigs perceive noise as a form of pressure, just as real as being tapped. Notice that this handler only shakes the paddle intermittently to encourage movement, and only when the pigs are slowing or stopped. Shakers can be made from other materials, such as jerry cans or milk jugs. As a handling tool, the principle is the same. Low, intermittent noise can encourage movement, especially in younger pigs. This handler recognizes when the pigs need time and space. He only makes noise when the flow is stopping. Loud, continuous noise is confusing for pigs and can increase anxiety, which hinders smooth flow. In this case, these two pigs move forward away from the safety of the group. If the handler stopped making noise, they might keep moving up the ramp. Instead, the noise scares the pigs, and they instinctively seek protection within the group. Notice also the excessive amount of physical pressure the handler is placing on the back pigs, which causes them to bunch, preventing them from driving the front pigs forward. Electric prods should only be used as a last resort tool. They should only be used if absolutely necessary to maintain flow onto a trailer. Therefore, they should only be available in the loading chute area, and handlers should not automatically have one in hand when moving pigs. Prods must never be used on any pig younger than a grower pig, and must never be used on fatigued, stressed, ill, or injured pigs. When deemed necessary, a shock should only be applied behind the shoulder, never in sensitive areas, and no one animal should be shocked more than twice. In many situations, shocks actually stop or otherwise interfere with pig movement and should only be used very judiciously. Remember, prod use increases the incidence of stressed hog syndrome, transport losses, and poor meat quality traits. If you are frequently relying on prods, reevaluate your facilities, the group size you are trying to move, and your handling techniques. To keep pigs calm, it is important to minimize the number of times you handle any individual pig, whether alone or in a group. Every time you cause a pig to pile, bunch, or circle around you, it becomes more excited and more likely to become fatigued or refuse to move. The best way to avoid overworking them is to prepare for the movement beforehand, to move only manageable numbers of pigs, and work with the pig's natural behavior and response patterns. Make use of their movement. Every time you start and stop a pig, it becomes harder to move. Preparation includes making sure all gates are set up prior to the movement. Things like handling tools, cleaning equipment, carts, and hoses can cause pigs to balk. Make sure to remove these distractions from passageways prior to moving pigs. Pigs may also balk at puddles, flooring changes, and bright sunspots. Getting down at pig level to see what they might see might help you identify and eliminate potential distractions. Preparation also includes walking your pens daily. This not only allows you to observe your pigs for signs of ill health, but the consistent interaction with the pigs also reduces their fear of humans. This will make them easier to handle when you have to move them. Notice the pigs are not fearful. Moving appropriate group sizes is also important. Movement in front of the pigs results in the front pigs stopping. With a smaller group, the handler could more easily re-establish flow. However, with this large group, the handler has lost the ability to influence the lead pigs. This tends to lead to the transporter getting involved in the movement and the handler overpressuring the back pigs. Both tendencies are the opposite of what the pigs need to feel safe proceeding onto the trailer. Transporters need to stay still and quiet until all pigs are loaded onto the trailer. In this example, it takes slightly over a minute to load these 13 pigs. Even though these pigs stop at the end of the ramp, the handler is able to influence the lead pigs and re-establish movement without overpressuring the back pigs. And it only takes him 20 seconds to load 8 pigs. Manageable group sizes depend heavily on the age of the pigs you are moving. You can usually manage much larger groups of nursery pigs than market hogs, for example. Remember that the number of pigs that is manageable to move depends entirely on your ability to manage the pig movement, not on the specific number. If you are experiencing difficulty, try reducing the number of pigs you are trying to move. To start and maintain good flow, you need to know how to apply pressure and then release it in a way that makes sense to the pigs and makes them feel comfortable moving in the direction you want them to. Here, the handler lightly taps the sow, asking her to move forward, and then releases pressure by pausing. When she stops again, he takes a step toward her and pauses, and she responds. He follows, and when she stops again, he lightly taps her and she moves forward again. Every request the handler makes is followed by a pause to give the sow a release from his pressure, allowing her time to focus on and assess the safety of moving forward. This handler is loading market hogs for transport. He applies and releases pressure by either tapping the pigs with his paddle and stopping, or tapping the floor and stopping. The pigs respond by flowing forward. Notice that the handler is giving the pigs plenty of time and space to respond, and is not unnecessarily touching the pigs, making noise, or crowding the pigs with his board. He has to do very little to encourage the pigs to load. Handlers should do as little as they need to get the job done. That includes only tapping the pigs when flow is slowing or stopped, not continuously. Pigs will move away if they are able to, and we allow them to by releasing pressure and letting them feel safe doing so. Continuously touching pigs that are moving can hinder flow by distracting them and encouraging defensive responses. If they are moving, don't distract them. Leave them alone and let their herd-following instincts dominate. These pigs, for example, are moving perfectly well, giving this handler no need to touch them. He does not drive the pigs. He simply follows them by matching their pace. It is sometimes necessary to move pigs individually. This is most appropriate for older pigs, such as sows and boars. Young pigs demonstrate strong herd-focused behavior and can be extremely reluctant to be moved individually. Here, the handler approaches the sow from behind, applying pressure by slowly entering her flight zone, making a point to stay out of her blind spot. The handler encourages the sow to move forward by approaching from an angle behind her at the pace she sets. With space available in front of her, the sow continues moving forward to get release from the handler's pressure. Notice that the sow is attentive to the actions of the handler. Her ears are pointed towards him, and she keeps checking back to see his positioning. By staying to the side, out of the sow's blind spot, the sow is able to keep track of the handler while continuing to move forward. Only when she stops does he tap her lightly. He then pauses to release pressure and let her move forward. It is important to continually observe the pigs you are handling. The pig's behavior will indicate the amount of pressure you can apply to encourage your intended response. Continually assess how they are responding to you, as well as where you want them to go, so that you can respond to them appropriately by adjusting your position and applying or releasing pressure. By not releasing pressure after applying it, handlers cause pigs to behave defensively. Here, the handler applies continuous pressure to the sow by pushing her and invading her flight zone. When she stops, he continues to apply pressure without releasing it. Instead of moving into the weigh scale as the handler intends, she turns back past the handler to get a release from his pressure and get to a place where she feels safer. He continues to drive her forward, which focuses her attention on him instead of the intended direction. She again tries to get a release from pressure by moving past him. The lack of release is confusing for the sow, and it takes the handler a lot of time and effort to get her onto the scale. This handler overpressures the pigs by continuously tapping them with his paddle. Notice how the pig's ears are up and how the pig is paying a lot of attention to the handler. The handler never provides a release of pressure or the time and space the pigs need to respond to his requests. It is unnecessary to continuously tap pigs. Tapping a moving pig will only draw its attention back to the handler instead of keeping it on the intended direction. Notice also how he crowds them with his board. The pigs respond to these conditions by stopping and bunching at the gate. Bunching is a defensive response that pigs assume when a handler is in their flight zone and there is no space to move away or turn. Though problematic when moving pigs, it can be used for certain husbandry practices such as ear tagging or vaccinating. Here, the handler crowds the nursery pigs and they form a bunch, which allows him to more easily vaccinate them. This also helps to prevent injuries during vaccination. Grower pigs form an even tighter bunch, providing a prime opportunity for ear tagging. When working with groups of pigs, a pig-free bubble is formed around the handler. This is the result of the pigs attempting to keep the handler outside of their respective flight zones. Their collective flight zones form the handler's bubble. Pigs consider this space to be just as unavailable to them as the space occupied by the feeder, for example, or other solid objects. The size of the handler's bubble, like a pig's flight zone, varies depending on the age of the pig, their previous experience with the handler, and the body language of the handler. Calm body language and slow, smooth movements will shrink the handler's bubble, while aggressive body language and quick movements will increase it. To keep pigs calm and manageable, handlers should take steps to reduce their bubble, especially in close quarters. Initiating movement from a bunch can be frustrating, but the main thing to consider is that in order to leave the group, pigs need to feel safe doing so. This responsibility lies with the handler. Often, this requires letting the pigs calm down for a minute or two before applying pressure. In this example, the handler encourages the pigs to flow past him by remaining calm and quiet and by minimizing threatening body language. These actions reduce the size of his bubble, which allows him to move quietly past the pigs against the wall. The pigs are acting moderately defensive, as exemplified by them bunching and having their heads and ears held high. Had the handler approached the group aggressively, they would have likely just bunched tighter and piled in response to his threatening behavior. However, his calm body language and movement result in the pigs perceiving him as less of a threat, and his well-timed pauses and balance between application and release of pressure let them feel safe leaving the group, moving past him, and establishing a flow. Handlers can, in effect, displace pigs using their bubble. In this clip, you can see how the pig-free bubble moves with the handler. Handlers can use their bubble to encourage pigs to move around them towards an intended target, such as an open gate. This is demonstrated most clearly when moving pigs out of a pen. Here, the handler enters to the side of the pen and uses his bubble to empty the pen. Pigs like to see what is pressuring them. They want to keep the handler in their sight. They also have a strong motivation to follow their herd mates. The handler can use these motivations to encourage the pigs to arc around him towards the open gate and follow the other pigs out. The handler's position allows the pigs to keep track of him, the open gate, and the flow of their herd mates all at the same time. Had he positioned himself in the adjacent corner, the pigs would have to feel safe taking their focus off the handler to be able to exit the gate. Because this often is not the case, the pigs would end up arcing around the handler towards the closed corner, which would ruin the flow. At this point, the handler moves deeper into the pen, which allows two pigs to arc around him without exiting the pen while still maintaining their flight zones. This demonstrates how the handler's bubble moves with the handler, directing the pigs where to go. The two pigs rejoin the group. By remaining calm and working from the side, the handler is able to keep the pigs calm while emptying the pen. Because the number of pigs that can flow through a gate and down an alley at any one time is limited, it is best to control the flow of pigs towards the gate. Besides from just working from the side and using the handler's bubble to funnel pigs through the gate, you can also see that the handler controls the flow to the gate by rocking towards and away from the gate. Rocking towards the gate applies pressure to the pigs close to the gate, encouraging them to exit, while rocking away releases the pressure on them and encourages other pigs to move towards the gate. It also allows the handler to reposition in order to pressure the next pigs close to the gate. Flow is best controlled by working from the side of the pen instead of from the back. Working from behind can draw the pig's attention back, away from following other herd mates out of the pen. It also often leads to more pigs arriving at the gate than are able to exit, resulting in wedging, elevated stress, and defensive responses that hinder flow. Here, the handler has opened two gates to move pigs out of the pen. He is working from behind the pigs instead of from the side, trying to move them towards the gates. This has caused too many pigs to arrive at the back gate than are able to exit at the same time, which causes the flow to stop. By working from behind, the handler did not control the flow of pigs to the gate or down the alley. Despite positioning himself well at this point and applying pressure in a sensible way, the hindered movement makes the remainder of the task more difficult than it had to be. It is also beneficial to try to work with pigs' established direction. Here, the handler only taps those pigs that are already close to and facing the open gate, rather than those facing away from the gate. It prevents him from having to encourage any pigs to turn in these tight quarters. Doing so also allows the handler to select out a manageable group size and reduce the density in the pen without causing any unnecessary stress to the remaining pigs. Circling is an escape response that allows a pig to get away from a handler's pressure while keeping the handler in its sight. Pigs will choose to circle when they feel continuously pressured and they have space to turn. This response can be used to the handler's advantage when sorting pigs out of a pen. Here, the handler closest to the back of the pen encourages the marked pig to move around him towards the front handler. Notice that the front handler is much less active. Only one handler should be active at any time. This allows the pigs to only have to focus on one source of pressure. Two handlers moving at once, front and back, usually encourage a strong circling pattern towards the back of the pen. Now observe the front handler. As the marked pigs approach, he encourages the other pigs to move towards the back of the pen and positions himself so that the marked pigs can circle around him towards the open gate. His positioning allows the pigs to see both him and the open gate as they circle past him. The back handler also releases his pressure on the pigs, effectively allowing them to focus on one source of pressure, the front handler. The same concept is used here in sorting this one sow out of the group pen. The back handler applies pressure by tapping the sow, encouraging her to move towards the front handler. Before the sow arrives at the gate, the front handler encourages the other sows to move away from the gate. He then positions himself to allow the selected sow to pass behind him through the open gate, at which point the back handler releases pressure. The handler's movements are calm and focused, and only one handler pressures the sow at any given time. Another situation where pigs can perceive being pressured by two sources simultaneously is when workers walk counter to the flow of pigs while they are being moved by a handler. Pigs may perceive the approaching worker as a threat. In this case, the sow only balks as the other worker passes. However, had the handler applied pressure while the other worker passed, the sow would likely have turned around to escape the pressure. If you must walk against the flow of pigs, try to reduce your bubble by staying close to the wall and minimizing potentially threatening body language. When animals become excited, they become increasingly difficult to handle. Keep track of this pig here. When the handler makes contact with the pig initially, it becomes quite excited and ends up putting all the other pigs between itself and the handler. It also turns to keep the handler in its sight, demonstrating a heightened state of defensiveness. When the handler approaches it this time, it becomes very worked up. It vocalizes and attempts to get away from the handler's pressure. Upon noticing these signs of fear, a handler can pause or back up to release pressure. Excited pigs need more time and space than other pigs, and handlers need to respect their flight zone and apply less pressure. Pigs can perceive a variety of things to be threatening other than the handler. These can include novel surroundings and situations, a change in flooring, or even an open gate. Handlers need to recognize other sources of perceived threats and provide enough time and space for the animals to investigate them to determine they are not a threat. Applying pressure in these situations can lead to undesirable defensive responses such as circling or bunching. Responding to the pig's behavior with appropriate use of positioning, release, and herd behavior can reduce the pig's perception of threat. Remember that the more pigs are fearful of you, the more they will be fearful of everything else. Handlers should not rely on the use of fear as a motivator. Handlers must take steps to minimize the stress felt by pigs during handling events. This is best achieved by understanding and properly applying the concepts of flight zone, positioning, body language, and application and release of pressure. We need to allow pigs to feel safe moving the way we want them to and let their herd-following behavior dominate. When they are flowing, do nothing to distract their attention. Handlers can control the flow of pigs by working from the side of them, not by driving them from behind. Handling tools can aid in pig movements and help keep handlers safe, but their overuse or misuse can also ruin flow and create dangerous situations. Handlers should continually observe pigs' behavior, reassess the situation, and respond to the pigs appropriately by adjusting position and applying or releasing pressure. Smart handling not only reduces the stress on the pigs, but it also makes for a more controlled, safe, and stress-free task for handlers. It is the right thing to do for you, your pigs, and your business.